We are back. This is Doc Ghetto Child. It's July the 5th, the day after. Okay, the day of independence, and this young man might talk a little bit about whatever he want to discuss. He might decide to tell you a little bit about historical part about those people who they were back in the old days, and abolitionists and this kind of thing. And it's on you, my friend.
Yes, sir. I just want to say that when we say that African Americans contributed to America, people always assume that it was just physical, that we were helping hands, and that our bodies and our fitness made us a hot commodity. And while that is true, we also help contribute to the literature and some of the greatest writers and inventors. African Americans have also been known for their minds, like Booker T. Washington, Martin Luther King. And you know, we are a courageous people. We've been through a lot. Slavery was so deeply rooted that people have stayed in the mindsets of being bounded. They don't know that it's important, or they are okay with being deaf, dumb, and blind. Back in the days of Martin Luther King, he told us, he said, I have a dream, and our job was to keep that dream alive even after he died. I think that, you know, the African Americans, our race, our society, separate from any other society, should have worked harder to keep it alive, but we have indeed gotten lazy. I also feel that, you know, it's not just Martin Luther King. You have Sojourner Truth, and she wanted to see people free too. You have Booker T. Washington. You have, yes, sir. But you also have modern day fighters, freedom fighters. That's what I like to call them. You have George Ryan and John Robinson, and you have their friends, and you have other people too. But I'm saying that it's not that we don't have leaders, but the way we used to unite under a leader. People take lead, and you should unite under your fellow brethren, because just like businesses, if I had a black business, I would want the black community, not just white community, but the black community to support me, because I would support another black business. And just like black business leadership, you see a black man get up trying to stand for our rights, you should get behind him.
That's right.
Amen. I think,
well, how do you feel about the entrepreneurship as for young people going into businesses and this kind of thing?
I think young people should be interested in going into business, because business means that you can be your own boss, make your own living, and there's a lot of interesting things. Depends on what business you go into. I like welding, and I also like AutoCAD, which is drafting.
So you were an engineer, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you talk a little bit about that?
Not yet.
Go ahead and talk about what your future, what you look for your future to be.
Yes, sir. I'm going to be a mechanical engineer.
You an aeronautical?
Yes, sir. Aeronautical too. And I want to design jet engines.
Stop it, that's sick.
Yes, sir.
Well, why would you want to design a jet engine?
Well, one day I decided to shoot for one of the highest goals I could. Because, you know, I think I deserve that.
I hear you, baby.
Yes, sir. And I've kept working at it, and I kept working at it, and now I am in drafting class, making R100s and have been since I have been in it.
Okay. Oh, right. That's correct. That's right. That's
Yes,
right.
sir.
So you're looking to get your scholarship out of your AutoCAD and
Yes, sir.
classes.
Yes, sir.
And you will be doing computer animation.
Yes, sir.
So you have the capability of doing these building games.
Yes, sir. I'll be able to build a game. I'll be able to create the inside and outside of a house and be able to take you all the way through it.
Stop it, I say.
Yes, sir.
Oh man, listen. Life is like this world of art. Okay, you know we got to be creative mind. You got to have a creative mind. I'm gonna hold something. I want you to hold something here for me.
Yes, sir.
And I'm gonna talk a little bit about this. Just sit on your knee then. Okay. And you can kind of sit it down where you can be seen. I mean, maybe we can sit it like so. Maybe it's like so. Like that. Alright. However, you might want to hold it up. Let me catch this. And you can be talking to me about that.
Yes, sir.
Well, anyway, let me. You can hold it up. Hold it up for me. Well, this here is a scale model of a feed mill, and it's a model that I designed back in. Oh man, it was back in 1994. Okay. I built it probably in 93. It took me 6 months to build. It's a scale model, and everything there was handcraft, hand built. Right here, this here is a waste heat evaporator. They use these in the juice plants, this concentrated, where they make concentrated oranges. I used this in a civil litigation in a case called John H. Robinson versus Calkins, Mr. Henry Ford's son-in-law, down in Indiantown, Florida. And this is a full scale, this is a scale of a pulp mill. And I did this this was constructed from paper, poster board. I built the augers from poster board. We used PVC. I used piping, copper tubing, and I used refrigeration racks. Everything here to construct the structure. And it's called a reactor conveyor. We had incline conveyors, we had screw presses, Zenith presses, and this mill was something that I utilized to show that a black man had the capabilities, and it's a form of artwork. It's like this is something like a sculpture. I won my case. My case lasted 8 weeks. It was a class action. I represented 850 blacks and whites that associated with blacks. I'm in the Library of Congress. My case was studied by Penn State. It was used by the Congress and the people without a lawyer or something of that nature as one of the discovery. We be so depicted as not knowing. Now this for me before I got the cancer, okay? And I rebuilt this mill every year. I didn't use no patterns, no design. I came straight out of the knowledge of my experience from a mind to build the model. And it's a scale model. I can scale this model here, and one inch equals 3 foot, something of that nature. I got the scale written down for so many years. We settled the case for $13.5 million. We were suing him for $140 million. And somehow Mr. Clarence Thomas got appointed to the bench, and Rencroft and the Honorable Rencroft and them, they read against Miss Patterson in 1989. And therefore, there was 105 civil litigations out there. 102 of those litigations fell through, and the only other 3 remaining were my case and 2 others. I was didn't feel to speak before the Congress to make the 1991 Civil Rights Bill retroactive, but they had rushed and passed the law. Anyway, so much for that. But this is a model. This is a work of art as well, and the art played a role in my life. Our lives would be so depicted at some points in time. I was a steel fabricator, certified welder by the Department of Transportation. I was solicited by Pratt & Whitney Aircraft to be appointed over a 1 million square foot shop to be over the shop that was going to build a computer simulator for the F-15 fighter plane. And by me working bridges, I needed some quick money, some big bucks, so I was certified by the Department of Transportation, and I did the repair work on rehabilitation of Basco span bridges. So my skills I learned from this, I was able to go out and change the big tracks and everything on those bridges. And it goes to show that when we are psychologically depicted as being someone we are not, these people said that a black man did not have no capability of learning this type of a thing, and the EEOC found them guilty of 17 charges. It was unfounded from what was found. But anyway, I knew this, I wanted to say this, and that my sons as architects and engineers, and our dream and vision were to go out and construct these plants, and I can build these plants. I was trained by Honeywell to program the big furnace. So, you know, saying this along those lines means that we are putting some in our children and our grannies, and we're going after our share of the market in this field. We're going to exploit this knowledge that we have. We're putting it in young men like this. And we want people to understand that what it's like to be depicted by psychological profilers and the stereo-minded. I was told, I'm not going to use the language, the vulgar, here today, because I don't want to reawaken something. But I'm here in Lowndes County, and I'm experiencing right now the rebirth of the old tobacco road again by what I found here in this county that seemed to be underneath the fine fabrics of its carpets, and how ugly a picture that it is here. But I do believe that by some of these city officials and the county officials that we are working with down that don't have that same mentality that sewed this old carpet together, is trying to take it back apart from its seams so we can redo the fabrics, rearrange the fabrics, get everybody to understand the fibers of the fabric. If we was to use a scientific metaphor, and I was to take this lint, that I just picked a piece of lint off of his clothing. You can't see it with this camera, but it's there. And it took that lint as part of the fabrics of this material. And it's part of the cotton field was involved, and the tractors was involved, and the plantations and everything out there pertaining to the manufacture was involved within this shirt and the fabrics. So our fabric of America is embedded within its soils. The old Arlington Cemetery, it carries part of the fabric of the soils of America. Okay? And what led us that we be able to stand for behind men like Dr. Martin Luther King, that made it capable for me, God knows. And I thank him today internationally for giving me an opportunity to be able to do something like this, to be able to stand in the United States Federal Courthouse for justice and equality and the law, and prevailed, okay? And prevailed. And I'm here to let everybody know today that we can prevail, but we do have to work together. We don't have to like one another. You don't have to like me, and I don't have to like you. He don't have to like you, and you don't have to like him. But by God, we got to live here together, and we got to have, out of all things, understanding, son.
Yes, sir.
Okay? If we have the will to understand, we got to understand that where there's will, there's reason. So we have to reason with one another, you know, and we got to hope that the reasoning work, that we can make some progression in our lives so that we don't have to be drugged through the mud. I fought 12 years in that litigation. Altogether, it was 22 years involved from 1978 and it ended in 1994. I filed a federal charge in the federal courthouse in 1983, and I walked out victoriously in 1994. Now look at those years. But the actual charge and complaint and the hardship started in 1978 from a lie that was told to me to be misleading, because they felt that I was another ignorant black man. and therefore they labeled me as such. This is Doc Ghetto Child. Until next time.